It's just about 23 minutes to the hour of 8 a.m. in Trinidad and Tobago. This is the Now Morning Show. It's Tobago Thursdays. And this next conversation is about something we all know and is just ingrained into us. Proverbs. They can be classified according to different criteria: historical, linguistic, thematic, educational, logical, and many more. But what about daily conversation and digital media? Recently, 3 Tobagonian writers showed just that at the 16th Interdisciplinary Colloquium on Proverbs in Tavira, Portugal. So this morning, we are joined by Mrs. Moore Miggins and Miss Devon Miggins to share their experience and insight. Ladies, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I'm assuming that there's a bit of a time difference where you are right now.
That's where Devon is.
Yeah, we didn't actually physically go to Portugal. We did the conference online. We were unable to attend in person, but we were able to make our contribution via teleconference.
And that is the beauty of the digital world that we live in. So share with us, Mrs. Moore Miggins, let's start with you. What exactly is the Proverbs Conference?
Well, actually, I learned about it just earlier this year when the third presenter, Leah Guy, who had bought one of my books, informed me that there was such a conference. I didn't even know that existed. I did the research and saw indeed that this has been going on for years. And it is put on generally in Tavira in Portugal. Never heard of Tavira before. And Tavira was claiming to be the world capital city of Proverbs. I said, what? I think this is Tobago's claim. But in any case, I followed up with the organizers and informed them of my interest. And Leah was already ahead of me. She was already accepted to present. Then Devon had done her own thing in the Proverbs. She too submitted, and we were all 3 accepted for presentation to the Proverbs. Leah went in person. She lives in the UK. And Devon and I, we tried, but we decided to do it virtually.
Oh, okay, well, Devon, I'm definitely coming to you in a few moments because we need to hear about this transition of Proverbs on social media. And I know you are definitely the queen of digital. But before we get to that, Mrs. Moore Miggins, what made you say, listen, Tobago is to be the capital of Proverbs, and make you say, I'm going to stake this claim?
Well, in my view, from my experience and moving around and reading other books or booklets on Proverbs, I'm realizing that Tobago people use Proverbs profusely, even in everyday, normal, day-to-day. On any day, I will hear about 6 Proverbs spewed at me by Tobago people. I've not had that experience with Caribbean, even Trinidad. Trinidad does use Proverbs as well, but to me, the regularity and the suitability of Proverbs to Tobago's situation and how it's so widely used, then I think the Heritage Festival here promotes that quite a lot. So my conclusion was, and when I read books where the proverbs that those books in the Caribbean were quoting did not seem quite as rich and profound as Tobago, those that I know in Tobago. I call them Tobago proverbs, not necessarily that they are indeed, but the regularity with which I was hearing them, I concluded that Tobago seems to be where proverbs are happening more than anywhere else on earth. So that's how I made my claim.
Well, we can hear the passion in your voice, and I'm sure they heard you at the conference as well. One of the things I know that you pointed out was the fact that Proverbs in Tobago really show some of the aspects of life and the evolution of society. And it was something that was definitely that light bulb moment. And it's beautiful now to see Devon really transition and meld her passion in that same way. Talking about Proverbs on digital media. Devon, do you think there is a space for it, and how did things go?
Oh, you know the answer to this. I believe digital social media creates a space for anything. Things that you may think nobody's going to be interested in that. I think that there are definitely spaces. Now, what happened with me is that when Mrs. Miggins wrote her book in 2013, I helped her create a Facebook page for her book. And at the time, there were no other books on Amazon talking about Caribbean proverbs in any kind of way. She really is a pioneer. I know she'd be too modest to say it, but she really is a pioneer in this regard. And why I say pioneer is because recently when I checked on Amazon, I'm seeing, 400 Vinci Proverbs you never knew. All these different books popping up that were never there before when she first created the Caribbean Proverbs that raised us in 2013.
And that's 2007, Deborah, not
Sorry,
2013.
2007. My apologies. My apologies. What happened in 2013 is that I created the Facebook page for the book. And in that time, without much minding or tending from me, the page was able to grow to about 700 followers. So which I was completely shocked by, because I didn't even think 100 people would be interested in Tobago Proverbs. But it has been a book that has, traveled far and wide. Many people all over the world have embraced it. And then, so I thought that maybe it would work on TikTok. So I said to myself, let me put out a call for Tobago content creators to create content around Tobago Proverbs. And to my surprise and delight, they came in droves. The content that I posted got a lot of traction. There were almost 100 comments on it. People were stitching it, and people really enjoyed the Tobago Proverb content on that platform. And so, so I was like, for sure, I'm going to write about this, because one of the other things that Proverbs faces is that extinction, people not using them falling out of use. And that was one of the major complaints at the colloquium that Mrs. Miggins and I attended, that, in their countries, one lady from Finland complained that, younger generations do not use Finnish proverbs. And so one of the ways to kind of keep the interest, I think, is definitely through digital and social media.
And I know that is something that is being done with you. I know, as you are like one of the pioneers for Tobago when it comes to the digital sphere. And it makes sense coming from, of course, pioneer and iconic lineage. Ladies, do you believe that your triple representation at the conference in Portugal has put Tobago on the map when it comes to Proverbs?
Well, I would say that certainly, sure, because the amount of times I challenged them that perhaps they were not really the Proverbs capital of the world, and it's Tobago. I think that it did, and of course we gave a background into Tobago and all its qualities, and made a pitch for visits to Tobago, and even for the next conference being considered for Tobago. So yes, to your question.
Well, being ambassadors for your country and for the culture as well. Miss Miggins, Mrs. Moore Miggins, thank you so much for being with us this morning on the show. Looking forward to seeing you continue to represent our culture and see our oral traditions alive. Thank you to both of you. Have a wonderful day.
I thank you as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mrs. Moore Miggins and Miss Miggins talking about representing at the Portugal Proverbs Conference. There's a lot more coming up on the Now Morning Show as we wrap up in style. Stay tuned.